Happy Monday, and welcome back to another episode of The Precipice of Delusion. I'm your host, Julian Gavilanis, and I am here to talk to my friends and peers and artists alike about what their journey is through the wild jungles of being a creative person in the world whereby they do not know how to handle it anymore. How do you handle it? How do you keep going? How do you make it all work? How do you keep self-love in your center? How do you do it? For all you non-artists out there, how do you do it? There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of different practices. It's not really a self-help podcast, but it certainly is a space where we explore all of the different opinions and approaches to how people go through that. Some people don't. I love an honest conversation where somebody's like, you know what? I honestly don't know how to get through this. I'm struggling still. Uh, I really applaud people like that and conversations like that because that's what I connect to. And that's what I try to be the example of in my own life. So, yeah, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. We are cruising. It is summertime and the weather is just fine, my friends. Hope you're enjoying some of that sun. Hope you're able to get out of the house and go get some of that vitamin D. Yeah, it feels nice. It's getting hot here in New York. We've had a couple of pretty hot 80-degree days. It's about to start getting 90, and geez Louise, what's going to happen? I don't know. Guys, I'm super excited about my guest today. He is a friend that I have known for a little while now. His name is Brian Charles Johnson, also known as BCJ. Brian is an actor, a singer, an artist extraordinaire. He got his start on the original cast of Spring Awakening and then went on to go do the American Idiot show, the Green Day show, and has been featured in a bunch of films like The Wolf of Wall Street and many other big projects that you would recognize. He is super talented. He's also a singer. I actually met him when we were doing the Alan Stone Karaoke Extravaganza, and he actually came up on stage and was so good that Alan asked for his number and had him join his team as a backup singer. So it's kind of a cool story how it all went down. We talk about it on the pod. He is great, just a super solid dude, and has a really fascinating story. Really hit it hard in the beginning, and yeah, kind of like plateaued thereafter, and had to kind of reconcile with what that was all about when he kind of had, expectations to be, continuing on that path. He is very honest and very raw, and I really appreciated his transparency in this talk. It's really cool, and so I'm excited for you to hear it, and excited for you to check out his work and see what he's up to, because he has got some stuff going on, ladies and gentlemen. He has got some stuff going on. Hey guys, we are a self-funded podcast, and so you know what that means. I am broke. I'm putting all my dollar bills into this pod and trying to make it work, trying to bring it to you guys every single week. And I'm having a blast doing it. But, it takes time and money and effort and energy, and I'm willing to put it in. But if you want to contribute to this community and help me grow this thing out, you can check out my Patreon at patreon.com/the precipice of delusion. I'll be giving out exclusive content there. I got some movies up there. I got some scripts up there. I got some exclusive podcasts that are happening there. Puppet shows are coming. Just you wait, my friends. Puppet shows are coming. It's just $5 a month. That's the minimum subscription fee. Very simple to join. If you feel so inclined and you want to help me build out this pod and you like it, yeah, think about doing it, and I will make sure to shout you out in these pods, and we'll have ourselves a jolly good time. Yeah, also, make sure you like and share and follow and subscribe and write and do all the things. Write a review. Tell your grandma, tell your friends that you like this podcast. If you have some artist friends that you think this would resonate with, send it on down their way. As always, thank you for being here. I love you guys so much. Can't wait for you guys to hear my friend Brian Charles Johnson. He's a legend. And yeah, fucking A, let's get into it. Brian Jessup Charles Johnson, dude. Do you always go by your middle name too? Jessup?
I usually Jessup been a newer one in the last couple of years, but we're trying it out. Yeah.
But always BCJ, huh?
BCJ. Well, Brian
Brian
Johnson's pretty
so
bland name, so you pop that Charles in the middle to spice it up.
Yeah, dude. Well,
little tricks of the biz.
Damn, dude. Is that your SAG name?
Actually, well, the reason that even obviously it is my name, but because when I joined Equity, like way back when, there was already a Brian Johnson. Can you believe it?
I can.
Yeah, so there was already a Brian
like
C.
Brian
Johnson.
Johnson, like the 19th or something like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't a Brian Charles Johnson, but here we are.
Yeah, I know.
So now there is.
Yeah, well, it's a sturdy name, dude.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it was a happy accident. It was like I've always gone by, Brian Johnson for most of my life until starting the acting career, and adding the Charles in just makes it sound more profesh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. Thanks for being here. I think you're a really solid person to have on this show because you have some very unique experiences with stuff that we kind of like talk about here, which is essentially the precipice of delusion, right? How do we navigate, like, whether we are delusional or we are actually like living in reality in the pursuit of this creative art form that we have tried to build a life out of. And I want to kind of like, I don't typically like do a linear show whereby like I talk about like where you started, but I think your starting point is important to kind of like talk about, because at least as far as like your career trajectory goes, because it has a lot to do with kind of like where you have gotten to in the last decade and now at this point in your life. And I also want to fully disclose that I think you are like a fucking legend. I think you have incredible talents. I've seen you on stage. I've seen you perform. I've seen you do like really incredible shit. Not only are you like a fucking powerhouse of an actor, but you're a powerhouse of a singer. I can't speak to your dancing skills, but I imagine you can fucking groove like fucking.
I'm a mover.
Biz.
I'm a mover groover.
Damn, dude.
But only when you pay me. Only when you pay me to move.
We got a triple threat on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, dude, I wanted to kind of like ask you about the beginning of your career as an actor, singer on Broadway, because you shot out of the cannon while you were at NYU. And got cast in the original cast of Spring Awakening. And that was prior to you even graduating from NYU, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that must have been a whirlwind. And I just want you to kind of like speak to that experience and like what that was like for you at that time. And then we'll kind of move on from there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be honest with you, like I didn't even fully understand the gravity of everything that was happening, because I was going to NYU, like you said, taking theater classes with Atlantic Theater Company, and they are the theater company that did the off-Broadway run of Spring Awakening. So in my junior year, first semester, they had the auditions, and so they were looking ideally for young kids to play these roles. So they were like, oh, let's try to find a kid in our program or multiple or whatever. So they had a bunch of me and my classmates audition. I went through probably a month of audition, callbacks and callbacks and callbacks. I mean, it was a long
And at this point, you hadn't like been auditioning or anything like that. You just been a
No,
student and
actually,
like
they
trying,
they
aspiring.
they kind of discourage that
Right.
while you're taking your training because the way so Atlantic was founded by David Mamet and William H. Macy, and David Mamet did a class with us one time, and I remember him
It's
making
about the
the
lines.
comparison. Yeah, he was making a comparison with tennis for some reason, but I remember it. He said, "Say you're like this tennis prodigy in high school or whatever, and then you start to really step it up and get your training. If you start to play in the tournaments right away while you're still doing your training, you're going to revert back to your old habits, and you're never going to fully." Grasp what you're learning and or at least adapt with what you're learning. So I mean,
So even
it's kind
David
of a
Mamet was like discouraging of
yeah.
like
I mean, they
students.
did. I mean, I think it's kind of
What an asshole.
a pretty. I mean, I don't know if it's changed now in 20 years that I've been going
I
there,
know
but
a lot of conservatories and like school programs like do discourage
yeah.
young actors from working, which
Yeah,
is
so I mean, and maybe
catchy.
it's just to like harbor their good actors for their own shows, but
Or just like stay making money.
yeah,
Like,
right. Exactly. Well, that
yeah,
too. They don't want
yeah,
him to leave.
yeah.
But yeah, so they threw me into auditions, and I really was just kind of thinking it as, oh, this is better than a student show.
Yeah.
Not even really grasping the fact that if I got this, I would get my equity card. I would be doing an off Broadway production just because
Right.
I was in school with this program, and
You sorry, just
it
to
just thought
clarify,
of it as a school.
to
Yeah,
clarify, you were in your third year of four, you
yeah,
said,
junior year with
and
first year.
prior to that, you hadn't like been auditioning like as a younger person or a kid. Like you
No, I mean,
decided,
I'd done
yeah,
basically like high school, middle
cool,
school
cool,
shows,
yeah, yeah.
and
So you went from,
then
so you just went from nothing to everything
yeah,
without
basically,
knowing,
right,
essentially.
right, and it actually is pretty funny because I got to like one of the final callbacks, or no, this must have been this was the initial audition where I had been given a time and a date to come in, and I was in an a cappella group in college called Mass Transit. Shout out to my boys. Uh, that we were going to Boston for a trip that had been planned and paid for and everything over the weekend that I was supposed to have the audition. So I called the casting director like an idiot kid and not knowing that like being given a time is a very good thing.
Mm.
Um, and I was like, "Hey, so I'm going to be away this weekend. I have a trip planned or whatever. Like, are there any other times I can come in?" And she was like, "Well, there aren't any other set times you come in, but we're doing an open call on the Monday or Tuesday of the following week. If you want to come to that." And I was just like, "Okay, great, I'll do that."
Just not
and
completely disregarding
just
everything.
yeah, not realizing, I show up and you're given like a number, like you're running a marathon,
Right, right.
um, and somehow, thankfully, I was able to keep progressing through the stages of it, and eventually got to the final callback where this was a kind of a funny scene for me because I was in a sketch comedy show for like my final grade for a sketch class at the Atlantic, which was down the hall from the final callbacks. And the callbacks were supposed to be in the morning, so they weren't supposed to conflict. So I do my final callback in the morning, and they're like, "Great, Brian, can you come back at 6 p.m.?" And that's smack dab in the middle of when we were doing the sketch show. So I was like, "Yes, I can." I'm currently in this sketch show that's about 10 feet down the hall. That is
Shut the
for my
fuck
final
up,
grade. So
kid.
what do I, yeah, what do I do there? And they're like, okay, well, why don't after every skit you're in, come down the hall
Uh,
and see if we need you. And if we do, then you'll pop in. If not, you can go back and do. So I
that's
literally
kind of
looked like
cool.
I had to have looked like a crazy because I was in different costumes like
Yeah,
every
but maybe that
10
loosened you up,
minutes.
man.
Yeah, I think it did. I gave the best auditions that I've probably ever given for Spring Awakening because
You had so
of
much going on.
my just lack of understanding the
Totally.
gravity of the
Yeah, yeah.
situation because I just was like, oh, it's better than a student show. I'll just go in and do it. If I don't
Yeah.
get it, then I'm still in school.
Classic move, man.
Yeah, yeah, and luckily it ended up. I did finally like. third or fourth skit, like I come down and they did need me. And the guy who wrote the skit, my buddy Brad, actually filled in for me. So I missed doing that skit. And he filled in for me while I was doing the audition. But yeah, I got cast there. I was told I was like the first unanimous cast by the casting director when I got the call
It's
before
insane, man.
Christmas. And yeah, then the rest was just a
Insane.
crazy,
And so
crazy, insane ride.
you're like you're on now Broadway. You're like you're in this show. You still probably don't even really recognize like the magnitude of what it is that you're doing, but you're probably feeling like this is pretty sweet. You also are working alongside people who are now like gigantic stars who probably then were like, just
Right. No, I mean, we all, I mean, a couple folks had done some
sure.
things, professionally before, but for the most part, we were all just kids. Kind of, this was our first
Yeah.
ever experience with something this huge.
Yeah.
And while we knew we had something special, we didn't know
You never
whether
how can you?
the world was going to find it special, like,
Right.
so we were just having a fun time. It was kind of like being in a camp
Yeah.
with this what people that would grow into be dear family members,
Yeah.
that we're still in touch today, like have a open group text that we're always
Yeah.
popping in on. So
Yeah, and people, just to name some of the people that are in the cast, it's like Leah Michelle, it's Jonathan Groff, it's Skylar Aston, to name a few.
yeah, John
Um,
Gallagher Jr. Yeah,
Jack Gallagher Jr.
yeah.
Huge, huge cast of people that went on to go do really, really wild things. Um, and you went to go and do that for how long? How long was that run?
Yeah, that was about 2 years from, like, off Broadway was May 2006, and then I left Broadway in July of 2008 with the last. It was me and four other of the last original cast members. We all left together.
And by then, were you kind of like, cool, like I belong in this world. I'm here now. I've arrived. I get it. I
Yeah, for
now
sure.
understand the magnitude of this, and I am like, I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely learned a lot over the process. I mean, through Steven Spinella and Christine Estabrook, who were the adults in the show that were our seasoned vets, and just being able to do the production. I mean, 8 shows a week for however many weeks we did it for. It was to have it still be super fun towards the end, is speaks to the experience itself, because I just loved everyone that I was working with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I kind of regret, like, leaving when I did. I wish I would have kind of stayed through the whole thing, but it's that tough position of when you're in the original cast and you're seeing all your friends that you started this journey
Mm.
with, slowly leaving. And I
It kind
didn't
of like
really
makes a
know. Yeah,
statement.
I mean, like, I definitely missed the paycheck after I
Yeah, for
left, but
sure.
I was ready for a vacation and just kind of like
Yeah.
to you know
Yeah.
um, relax a little bit, because it was a lot. I mean, we were constantly, I mean, even days off, like, just kind of went by, because you only get the one day off and
Right.
then it's back at it again. And
And you also
yeah, it's a
probably
lot.
don't you probably also don't recognize like what what to expect when it's over. Like
Right.
you
No,
don't
totally.
you probably, because you're so young. What are you, like 22, 23, 24 at this point?
I was 21. Yeah.
21. So you're
21,
so
22 as I, yeah.
you're so
Yeah.
young, dude. Like you have this like regard for yourself now as like, I'm a Broadway actor. Like I'm in the NBA essentially. Like I'm in
Yeah.
the game. And so like
Yeah.
if you leave the show, like you're destined to like get on something else and be fine. Like
Right.
you're gonna be chill, especially since you're
Right.
seeing like all of your peers kind of like going in different directions, and you're like, yeah, sweet, like I'll be fine.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I just, yeah, I assumed that things would just keep rolling, because the goal is always, something like Broadway or film and like, to get to these echelons, like that's a huge one. And so I kind of, maybe ignorantly as a kid thought that things would just keep rolling, and from there, for
yeah,
sure. And not that I didn't have to, like, put work in to make it happen, but I thought that having that on my resume was a huge boost in what the future would hold too.
right,
And from there, like, from the same creative team offered me a role in American Idiot following that, which was like the next year that we were workshopping, and we did it out in Berkeley Rep, and then brought it to Broadway in 2010.
So there wasn't a lot of time between the two shows that
Right,
you.
yeah. So I left like July 2008, and then I had already done a workshop or two in the rest of that year of the American Idiot project, and then 2009 we went out to Berkeley to do like 6 month run out there. Or we spent 6 months out there, and then 2010 we brought it to Broadway after Green Day invited us to sing on the Grammys with them, which was
Wow,
pretty awesome
that's
experience.
rad, man.
So yeah, so I ended up taking like a 7 year leave of absence from NYU to
You come back as
work.
48
And
years old. You're just like, hey
yeah,
guys, like
well,
I'm
the
working
good
for
thing
my.
about the baby face is I
Yeah,
hid right in plain sight. No one even
yeah,
knew. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
That's an incredible like trajectory for a young person to be experiencing. I can't imagine. Like I had my own experience kind of shot out of the cannon, but it was much quicker than that. Like it happened much like in a much shorter period of time,
hmm,
and wasn't as like gigantic as yours. Like wasn't as big as the roles you were having in like
hmm,
in that capacity. Like you're on two humongous Broadway stages for a long period of time, straight like out of college, not even having graduated. You're you're probably like identifying as the person that you have become through these experiences, and that's all you know, because like what else
yeah,
is there? Like you've been trying
right.
to become an actor, and look mom, like I'm on Broadway and here I
Yeah,
am. So
yeah,
you've
yeah.
made it,
First show wins Best Musical and the Tony
dude.
Awards. Like
Insane. So the
yeah,
first show, like
yeah. Spring
that's
Awakening.
it
We
won.
swept the Tony Awards. We were nominated for 11. We won 8 of the
Oh
awards,
my
including
god. So
Best
do you have your
Musical.
own
And
Tony Award?
no, they
Come
don't do
on.
that. They
What
don't
are you
do
talking
that.
about?
Yeah, they don't do
Bullshit,
that.
dude.
It's the goes to the producers, the
I
money
thought you were on
people.
your way to EGOT status, dude.
Yeah, well, I mean, in a way, I've got some Grammys, some
You got it. You got them
because we
all.
we for both shows we won the Grammy for Broadway cast album, original cast album.
So you got
Which
the
those I guess you can maybe mail. Like I got to figure it out because
yeah,
we've been trying to figure out for years how to get like the certificate,
yeah,
that we were part of the
yeah.
original
We should make a
Broadway
miss. We should
casting.
make
But
a misfits show of just like all of like the unofficial EGOTs who have like
yeah,
who like are
exactly.
part of those casts that have
Yeah,
like them officially but unofficially.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's insane, dude.
yeah.
Really insane. And I really wanted to like speak about those experiences because I think they're important to know. And as much as this isn't like a biographical podcast about like what you've done and what you're
Yeah.
promoting and this and that, I think they're important because like what follows is really like the gravy of this like conversation that I want to kind of dive into, and like how you have like continued to navigate after these experiences.
Yeah.
So like Green Day, or sorry, the American Idiot show happens. It's well received. It's a
Yeah.
gigantic show. You're in it. You're just like head forward, like just doing what you have been doing for how many years now? Like
Right.
five, six
Yeah. I mean,
years.
since 2006. Yeah. At
Yeah.
that point, for
So
like
like
4 or 5
you're
years.
just
Yeah.
fully in this.
Yeah.
You have no like expectation that things will or can. I mean, I imagine like I don't know, like how were you managing your expectations at that time? Like you knew the show was going to be over. Like what did you expect was going to happen after that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I was just confident in myself that I was unique and that my voice was unique. It didn't sound like anyone else, even with my body type or not. I just thought that I had something special, which I still feel that way about myself. But I yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't really because things happened so early on where I know we've talked about this off camera and mic, but I had a teacher at NYU that said to all the actors in the class, like you're gonna experience 100 no's before you get one yes. So that kind of is supposed to ingrain like you got to get through. the meat and potatoes of the grind,
Mm.
and you will be rewarded with your character development as well as hopefully with a job. And so when I got one yes before any of the no's, um, subconsciously, I think it just made me think that this was always going to be the ride,
Of
you know,
course.
and obviously that's not how it
But
works,
but 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 like, of
but
course, you
yeah,
had every reason to believe that, man. Like,
yeah,
I have a similar experience with myself, whereby like I, booked stuff right out of the gate. First auditions I ever went into, I booked, and so I like my reference for like myself and like how I was going to traverse through this business was like,
yeah,
I'm the shit. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm really good at this. Of course, like my mindset was like, of course,
right,
of course I got this. Cause like,
right, yeah,
I decided to do this, and like everybody at some like young age, even like beyond, like, you think, you're like exceptional to a certain degree. Like when you're young, you're like, I want to be an actor. I want to be a singer. I want to be a star. And so in order to believe that, one, you got to be a little delusional, but you also just,
yeah,
you just
yeah,
are, you're just young, and you want to be like the star. And so when you get that thing, when you get that validation,
hmm,
it just confirms that narrative. It's just like, yeah, of course. Like,
right.
it's not like, I don't even think you have enough time to have uh like imposter syndrome when you're young, because you're kind of just like, no, like I belong, and that's
Yeah, I mean,
great.
and it's I think because of being young and not being as experienced, you know, the rejection part of the business wasn't present
You
as
didn't
much
have, yeah,
as
you
you
didn't
know it
know,
would become.
you didn't know
Yeah,
any better, you didn't
right.
know like what was to come.
I very much knew the parts of the business that I was involved with and that I saw every day, but there's that whole other side of the business that I had not experienced
Right.
up until that point. So, and even after American Idiot, I started building up a film and television career, which was going pretty good. Like it wasn't like
Mhm.
every week I was doing a different project or anything
Yeah.
like that, but like, you know, I got to be on some pretty huge and awesome sets. My
Yeah.
first movie was a terrible movie, but it was with M. Night Shyamalan in
Nice.
The Last Airbender. I got a
Nice, dude.
big zoom in close up of me looking like a Mongolian for some reason. I was cast in it.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
You're
like
canceled now, dude.
my face
Representation
is the whole.
counts.
Yeah, I know. I did. You know, I just said yes when they
I
asked.
gotta turn this podcast off now, dude. This
Yeah,
is
sorry
not
about
cool.
that. Sorry
We're
about that.
PC here.
It's right. It was, you know, it was a while ago.
I'm bugging with you.
Yeah, and you know, I got to do a bunch of things. And I was in Wolf of Wall Street set, which was like
Mm-hmm.
probably the most incredible experience because I was on set for like 2 or 3 weeks,
Just watching Leo work.
watching Leo work. I mean, that like famous scene, that I'm not leaving, I'm not leaving. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
there, like
Yeah.
watching him do it, and like it was insane. And Jonah
Yeah.
Hill, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
everybody in the cast was amazing. But
And
yeah, I mean, it was a good ride for the next like couple of years after American Idiot, and that's when it slowly started to just kind of like shift the other way, and then things were harder to get, and
yeah.
then I went back to school and finished, and which I'm very glad that I did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just the business that, you know, they're not lying when they tell you it's a tough biz to be in, for sure. I mean, I'm pretty proud of myself that I'm still here,
Yeah.
auditioning and
20
trying to
years
be
later.
doing it 20, yeah, 20 plus. Like
Yeah.
came to school here, a
Yeah. No, it's incredible,
bright-eyed,
man.
fresh-faced freshman in 2003, and here I
Yeah.
am with gray
Yeah,
hairs.
man. And I think, I think, none of those experiences are in vain. Like, you did them,
Right.
you are like, they are a part of you. Like, you have those as like resume points forever. Like, they are a part
Yeah.
of your history. They are a part of who you are as a person. Um,
Hmm.
and I think what is interesting is that, like, as we move forward, because like your our bars get set, right, as
Yeah.
like artists, or as maybe anybody, and what we have, because we're in this industry whereby our metric of success is based on what we have done.
Right.
Yours was so high right out of the gate that like anything that followed, if it wasn't there or above it, it was like probably felt as somewhat of a failure.
Yeah.
And I'm projecting. Maybe correct me
Yeah,
if I'm
or
wrong.
just not
Not as
it's
good.
the high's not as high,
Yeah, you're not going to
like
go do like
it's
you're not going to go do some like student film after that and feel like
right.
awesome about it. Whereas like some like 22-year-old kid who's like getting out of school is going to go do a student film and be thrilled, because it's like I'm going
Right.
to get my real stuff. I'm going to, but like you're just like I've been on fucking Broadway. I've like
Yeah.
it just changes your scope of everything. That's not to say
Right.
that you're like unwilling to go do this or that, but it just
No. Yeah.
changes your perception of like what maybe matters or what is important to you and what you're supposed to do, especially when you're young. And um, I'm really curious once things started, like once American Idiot kind of fizzled out and you were
Yep.
off that show, and then you got on these shows and these movies and you were having these kind of cool experiences. um, Once all of that stuff started to slow down, what were you doing to kind of keep yourself aligned with like, okay, I am still like a valuable player in this industry. I'm still a cool, good person. Like, did you have people around you? Did you have like exercises you were implementing in your life? Like, what did you do to stay in this and like move through this world when
Yeah.
ultimately like you were having no signs anymore pointing you in that
Right. Well, I
direction?
mean, it eventually got to a point where, I needed to find like side jobs or a
Mm-hmm.
side job, and thankfully I had two friends that had opened up the best chicken wing place in New York City, Dan and John's Wings, but they were like coming out of the food truck scene, like Smorgasburg is where they started, and they were getting ready to open their first brick and mortar. So that kind of fell into my lap as an opportunity of like, oh, I can do this, and it's not something that like is what I want to define my life, but it is something that will pay me while to give me that um, freedom to be able to audition and be able to go do things if and when I get cast in them. Um, the only tricky thing with that is that it became the catch 22 where like I was there working a lot, which was great because I was making decent money there. And, but slowly but surely I mean, I was with them for 5 years, I think. And over the course of those years, I kind of like blinked and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I haven't been cast in a lot. Like I had done a couple TV things here and there
Mm-hmm.
throughout the years. Like I can't remember, like Chicago Fire, and I'd done Law and Order, SVU, and Gotham, and like those things were all amazing. But I was, I blinked at the end of the like 5 years, and I was like, oh man, like I'm doing more um, chicken wing stuff than I
Mm-hmm.
am with the acting. When the whole point of getting this job was to pay my bills so that I can then focus on the auditions and things, and then of course that led into the pandemic where that just
Yeah.
completely altered the game of everything and kind of in many ways reset the whole business.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like, kind of still feels like I'm like starting from scratch, even though I have all these resume points, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's been a really tricky process navigating through the past 4 years, if not more. Just trying to find the strength to like give myself the grace that I belong here, and building back my confidence because I don't know what did it or if it was just a series of events leading up to it, but the confidence that I had when I was doing the Broadway shows and when I was constantly working had definitely diminished. Like whenever I'm behind a mic or on a stage, it's back, it's there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's maintaining it after when the lights aren't on me, or and that, and having that actor mindset of like, am I ever going to work again? Like I know I just worked, but am I ever going to work again? Am I,
Yeah.
that imposter syndrome definitely like crept up slowly but surely, and I'm still very much battling that to this day, but I do know that I have a good core group of friends behind me. I have, representation that have been with me for a while that all help to remind me of that when I might not be able to see it fully myself. So in a lot of ways, I'm set up with some very good support system, and family as well, obviously.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I'm exactly where I thought I should be right now, or not wishing that I had some of the careers that some of my good friends have. And
Yeah.
it's just that's kind of the nature of this beast that we're in. Like, it's not I just want to be comfortable with who I am and comfortable with what's in my wallet, not a capital one.
Ad sponsored
And
by.
yeah,
Let's go
yeah,
to a
yeah,
commercial
yeah,
break.
yeah. What's
Um,
in my wallet? Yeah,
yeah. Uh, yeah, man. I think
you
it's
know,
like a real testament to your character, how you have been able to move through it, despite like, potentially like feeling shame or guilt or depression, and like and battling with all of those things as a result of like a slow season or seasons
yeah,
of your life. Like I think it's one thing to just like have your trajectory move forward, like some of the friends that started that first show with,
yeah,
and to like they're out here just kind of like continuing their thing, working all the time. The interesting thing though is that like they're not immune to their own bullshit and their own
right,
issues and their own depressions and their own stresses at the same
right,
time.
right,
And so, it's all relative, I
yeah,
think. I mean, I can only speak to my own experience and kind of like a real reason why I'm having this podcast, so that I can like have other people speak to their own as well and really get a sense of like nobody's like alone in this feeling of
right,
like trapped, insecure, like uncertain future as an artist, especially, because
yeah,
it's just like at every level, man, like we are all continuously like faced with this like despair and rejection and like this uncertainty. And, I just had a guy that was supposed to be on uh, yesterday,
mhm,
and he had to cancel on me because he's like he's getting there, man. Like he's really like at peaking as an
cool,
as an actor right now and getting like some really cool looks. And he had a big kind of like big like shitty thing happened to him, and he had to cancel. And he was like, "Dude, I'm like not in the right headspace to do this." And I was like,
yeah,
"Oh," part of me was just like, "Dude, this is like it's a
that's the
perfect
perfect, yeah,
opportunity to like
right,
come on."
right, yeah,
I wanted to like exploit that, but it was just like, no, I gotta
yeah,
respect his best interest and look out for him. And ultimately, I just felt bad, but also I was like, and I only bring it up. I'm never going to share, who that person is or anything, but like,
sure,
I share it to just be like, dude, like, no matter what level you're at, because I look at him and I'm like, dude, there's fucking no problems there, man. He's fucking cruising. And it's just like,
right.
absolutely not. It's
Well, yeah,
just
and I
not the
mean,
case.
the problem is we're all so aware of what other people are doing because of their presence on social media, and but like,
Totally.
but it's not. Yeah, we all know it's not like the whole story.
For
No
sure.
one's,
Dude.
or not, no one is, but most people aren't, posting the bad with the good.
Right.
They're just
Right.
mostly posting the good, which then gives us all this false belief that everyone else's life is so great. And,
Totally, man.
here
And
I
it's
am
kill
behind
it's
my
killing us
phone.
because
And
we're all
yeah,
just
it
comparing
is.
ourselves. And
It's
you
definitely
know,
a problem. Yeah.
I know that, even for myself, and it's weird, like juxtaposed by like even my own experience with how I post and what I share, because like, I'll say something and I'll be like behind the bar, working on a Friday night or something like that. Uh,
Mhm.
and so I'll get a text from somebody be like, "Bro, I just saw you in this movie with this person, and like, holy shit, dude, you're fucking killing it." And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm fucking pouring a fucking cosmopolitan for
Yeah, yeah,
some
that
21-year-old
that
old
happened to
birthday
me too
party.
at the wig shop.
Yeah,
I'm like, I had finally got like a Law and Order. episode and it, premiered and I'm
Yeah.
watching it on the TV at the wing
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it, yeah,
And
it's
it's like,
weird.
it's how do you want to have a relationship with that? Like, how do you want to see yourself through all of this stuff? Because for me, I had a friend on that I asked as well, and he's working all the time and has
Yeah.
been awesome. In fact, you met him. His name's David Holmes. Remember, we
Oh
went
yeah.
to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's doing a bunch of stuff, and just got off the Penguin. He did like 5 episodes on that show, and he's a
Awesome.
legend. And
Awesome.
he works behind a bar, and he gets recognized all the time, like
Yeah.
all the time. And he was just like, I thought I was gonna be really like it was gonna be the worst thing that could ever happen. And I was
Mhm.
just gonna like feel super ashamed of myself and like not know how to navigate that. He's like, but honestly, dude, it's lovely. He was like, it honestly happens like most days. Because he's
Yeah.
been on a lot of other things as well, and people will always recognize him. He looks, the way he looks, kind of like a goofy dude, and like just kind of crazy, and he's out
Right.
there, and he's just kind of like very charismatic
He's
dude.
he's a little Daniel Stern-esque,
Yeah, yeah,
I would
yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah,
right? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but he
Very
had
cool
such a
guy.
great, he had such a cool kind of outlook on it, and he was just like, no, man, like it's actually really lovely. Like I like bartending, like I don't mind it, it's fine. And
Yeah.
yeah, of course, like I'm in this thing, like I'm in it, and despite like where I'm at on my trajectory, or like
Yeah.
if I'm on a job right now or if I'm behind the bar right now, like I still know that I am doing this and this is my path and this is my journey. And like I'm
Right.
just pumped that I like chose to do something that I love. And it's like what I'm continuing to follow. Like it's really like this bar job, whatever it may be, is just there to supplement my life so that I can go and do that thing more. And
Right.
depending on the pace at which it's like moving, a lot of times that's out of my control. And so it's just
Yeah,
like, dude,
totally.
just do what you got to do.
Right.
And
Well, and also when people are, pointing out when they saw your trailer, when they saw your movie or whatever,
sure,
TV show or whatever, you haven't filmed that
right,
in
right,
how
2 years.
long?
Yeah, yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
like you're not currently on this. You didn't just get
That's
off set.
that's the
So like,
misconception. People are just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
dude, you are on my TV right now,
yeah,
so you
yeah,
must be hanging out with fucking Anne
yeah,
Hathaway right
yeah,
now. It's just like,
yeah.
uh, just nope.
Right, right,
Just,
right, right,
I
right,
can't even remember actually when that even was. It was too so
right,
long ago.
right.
Um, yeah, it's a really strange thing to navigate, man. And I really do, like I know you've gone through your own like highs and lows of all of this stuff, and your own kind of like grieving process of your own kind of career as it has kind of like ceased to exist to a certain degree as far as like
Yeah,
your Broadway life, but it also hasn't. That's like
right.
all in your own mind because of
Yes.
the circumstances of what has happened since then.
Yeah.
And you're still young, man. You still have a full life to live, and I don't think you're giving up on this. I don't
No.
think you're like quitting from this thing. You've been here for 20 years, like
Yeah.
some
It's
probably
all I
sometimes,
know.
so yeah,
Yeah.
probably sometimes against your better judgment, and like
Yeah. I
and
mean,
you
I think that's
stay.
the hardest part right now is like, realizing how few opportunities are really coming my way these days. But like trying to think of another avenue to take that is still fulfilling and still makes me want to like get up and go do it every day. And that's been the hardest battle recently in the past, like, I mean, since coming out of the pandemic,
Yeah.
really was like, all I want is to find something that like is just as fulfilling, at least emotionally and spiritually, I guess, with that is more in my control, because so much of this business is not in my control. Like what I do when I get in the auditions and when I get opportunities, that's in my control. But a lot of people need to sign off on casting me in something, and there's
Hmm.
been a lot of those close calls, and then for whatever reason, like I'm 2 inches short, or I
Hmm.
don't have the exact look they were looking for, or someone
Right.
else, whatever the reasonings have been, and a lot of times I don't even hear what the reasonings are, which is a really tough part of this business, especially as we've shifted towards almost everything being self tapes these days, where it's like, did they even watch it?
Mm-hmm.
What, like, the feedback is either very generalized or not present
Yeah.
whatsoever,
Yeah. It's
and
just
it's like,
silence.
so it's like, did I do something?
Yeah.
Was it a numbers thing? Was it like
Yeah.
a
It's
look
it's
thing?
it's really
Or like,
hard to
did I
quantify,
crush
like,
the
kind of.
audition, but I just didn't look the part, like
Yeah.
all these like unanswered questions that just kind of float out there. And I've learned that I just have to be uh happy with what I have put out there, and like, I'm trying to learn, I guess, the to leave it in, I guess, when I was in acting school, like, you leave it in the room,
Mm.
you do you do your best, you prepare, you go in, you do it, and then you leave it, which is way harder or way easier said than done. But that's a mindset that I'm trying to get back into more these days, because it'll drive you insane if you try to figure out an answer that you're probably not going to get for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
um
You can only do your best work and just hope that, like,
right.
the bonus is the booking if you get it, but like
Yeah.
otherwise just, keep doing good stuff. I guess you just expect, like, but don't they know that I was like this guy in that thing? Like, don't they care?
Yeah.
Like, should I tell them? Like, would that
Right.
help? Like, it's
Well,
just like,
then there's like, then there's just the blatant get your hopes up in the. I had like a Zoom audition a few weeks ago, and I mean, I have not been given such complimentary, like it was just from the three people that were in the Zoom room were all just like, they're like, "Oh my God, like, we don't even have, I'm trying to think of notes for you. Like,
yeah.
that was so good. Like, you are the character, and as we're signing off, they called me the character name.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. And I got off the call and I was super pumped. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I think I just booked this. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way I'm not going to book it. And then
Yeah.
just crickets, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no feedback, no nothing. Uh, and here we are again. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
It's hard to
it's,
quantify that stuff, man. I've
yeah.
been like actually hugged by a casting director before after an audition back when they were in the room, and she was just like, "I cannot wait to get you in this universe." And it was like part of the Marvel world, like for the
Oh my
Netflix
God. Yeah.
thing when that was happening. And I just remember walking out of that. It was like, I had been in multiple times for her, and she like seemingly loved me, and she hugged me, and I was like, "This does
Yeah.
not have like." Sometimes you think they're like blowing smoke up your ass or something like that, just to
Right.
like get you out of the fucking room with a compliment.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
like
I'm not, and
this,
that's the difference. I can tell,
yeah,
like
totally. You can
you
tell.
can
Like,
tell a
you can
difference.
tell.
Yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
good read on people,
Yeah.
and yeah, I was just like walked out, like called fucking whoever I felt like, and was just like,
Yeah.
buying a boat.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'm
Right.
ready. I'm ready to
It's so hard
fucking.
not to brag about, or not brag, but like, it's not to like
Well, you
share
just,
that, because
dude,
I try to keep it to myself until I like know for a fact that something's happening. But
for
like, it's
sure.
so hard. Like, I
Yeah,
just want to share, like, I had a good day or I had
yeah,
a good experience, and like,
totally, man.
I don't want to get my hopes up, but I'm silently getting my hopes up.
For
You know what I
sure.
mean? Like,
Yeah, and then like inevitably, not always, but like, it just like you don't hear back, and so you're just like,
yeah,
oh, and you're heartbroken because you're just
right.
like, well, I thought, like, you like built up. It's like going on a date almost when you're auditioning for
Yeah.
something, like you. And somebody kind of created the metaphor for me, which was kind of helpful. They were like, dude, you don't always have to go in like with like a ring in the back of your pocket, meaning like you don't have to be so desperate to like marry this person, like,
Yeah.
right away. And I think
Yeah.
like every single time we go to an audition, we treat it as if it were like a partner that we're like ready to like
Oh my
be
God.
wed to and like be with for the rest of our lives.
Especially these days, like now it's, when the auditions come in, it's like,
Totally,
oh,
totally.
I need this one, I
It's
need this.
but
Like,
it's but it's like what are the best dates that wind up working out? It's like the ones where you just like,
yeah,
are like, hey, like that was awesome, like, hit me
right,
up like next week, and like maybe I can see you again, maybe.
yeah,
And so like
yeah.
just going in and like making good impressions and leaving somebody with like a good taste in their mouth of who you were, to
Right.
be like, I love that person. And like,
Right.
maybe I could have a relationship with them. Like, maybe I can, like, even throw them in something. Like, maybe I could see them again and we could do something, and maybe you book it. But like, ultimately, you just want to be able to like build an ongoing relationship with this person. And I'll
Yeah.
be like, I have a wedding ring. They're like, Jesus Christ, dude, we haven't even fucking ordered drinks yet. Like, fuck. And so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's kind of put things in perspective for me, because I definitely have been like very eager about like you, and they can, and you just, people smell that shit, man.
Yeah,
Like,
for
it's
sure.
just, it's like desperation is so fucking easy to see right through, man. And
Yeah.
I've really had to like change my whole approach with doing this. And it's just like, well, how do you like, I still like am desperate to do this thing, but it's just like, oh well, once you stop caring, it'll start happening. And that's like
Right.
that's really
That's
like, it's like, it like what it's awful advice, because like, how do you stop caring? You can't.
how do
You
yeah,
can't.
I mean,
You
that's
always
yeah.
you always are going to care, but like,
Right.
you just have to treat it differently, I think. And slowly but surely, like, if you can start kind of uh like looking at it as, I heard George Clooney say this in an interview recently, where he was like, I stopped looking at auditions as like, oh, like I need to get this, but rather like, I am going to try and fix their problem. Like, I'm going to be the person to solve their problem, because ultimately, like, casting people have a problem, which is like, they
Yeah.
don't have somebody to fill this role. And
Yeah.
so he was like, I was looking at myself as a solution to their problem. And that's how I saw it. And like, if I wasn't, then it was just like, okay, well then somebody else was the solution. And I just wasn't. But it was not so personal that way. Um, and so, anyways, it's fucking tough, man, and it's very tough to
Yeah.
continue to navigate this stuff. And I think especially after you have had, despite having big success early on, it's still
Yeah.
hard. Like, even when you're just like
Yeah.
coming up and trying to navigate this profession without having any real credits, you're like, how do I get a credit when I haven't gotten a credit? Like, I need
Right.
credits to get
Well,
credits.
I'll
Like,
tell you what, I I'm so thankful for my experiences early on, because I don't know if I would have had thick enough skin to push through and persevere in this business had I not had a springboard in the beginning.
yeah,
Because it's been really trying in the past years, but I do at least have that crutch of my resume and things that I have done that I can look back on and remind myself that I belong here and that I have done some pretty absolutely incredible things that some people will have an entire career and never do.
totally,
Um,
man.
and that has been helpful to me. It doesn't solve everything on a daily basis, but like, if I'm ever really down about it, or like, man, do I even want to be here anymore? Do I want to move? Like, what am I going to do? Like, this has been
Yeah,
my whole life. Like, I can't even fathom not being here and not doing this
yeah.
still. But I need a win.
I know, man. I
I
hear
need a
you,
win
dude.
soon,
I
man.
mean,
Like,
I can say that like, you have done it, man. Like, you
yeah,
have, just like, regardless of how you see it or where you're at or how much money you have in your bank account or how little you don't have, whatever. Like, you have,
what's in my wallet?
yeah. What's in your wallet? Can you show me your bank account right
Yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah.
You paying for
It's
dinner
split up.
tonight or mine, dude?
Yeah, yeah,
What's
yeah.
going on here?
Couple
Um,
splitsies.
uh, great. I still can't afford it.
Yeah, me either. Let's
Um,
cancel dinner.
yeah, it's over. um, uh, and I'm speaking to myself when I say this as well, because like, you have to remind yourself that like, you have accomplished your dreams. You have already done it. You have surpassed like the wildest dreams of many people, man, that like would hope and dream to ever even have a chance to do anything like this. You have
Yeah,
done it. And so like, if you can accept that and appreciate that, you can move forward with a little bit more grace and be like, a little bit more appreciative of just kind of like, here I am, dude. Like, look at me.
yeah,
I'm still rocking. I'm still great. I'm still a cool person. And like, opportunities will present themselves again to you, like,
yeah,
we got to speak about like being introduced to you like 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years, however long ago it was.
2019, I
Like,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like Alan Stone, my best friend, and I were putting on this karaoke tour where like fans of Alan's get to come and sing karaoke. It's very intimate. It's very immersive. It's very like, crazy and fun and silly. And you and your former partner got to like show up, and I brought you guys on stage, and dude, you fucking like took the house down so fucking. I didn't no idea who you were. I had no
Yeah.
fucking clue what the fuck was going on. You come up, you sing "This is how we do it,"
That's right.
and like, there's always a moment in that show where it like goes, you can like, when somebody comes on and they fucking like, just the first note out of their mouth like
Yeah.
it gets blown, people will just like perk up and are just like, holy fuck. And it's like the greatest moment. It's not even
Yeah.
like, it's sometimes it happens in performances, but ultimately it's like if somebody can sing really, really well and we don't know, and they
Yeah.
just get up and they fucking blow it away, it's like the greatest fucking thing. And you did this, and it was so fucking like riotous in that room. It
Yeah.
was so
It
fucking, it was like
was.
such a tiny little fucking room out here in New York
Dude,
City, in this little like fucking basement theater. And
McKittrick Hotel, I think,
the
right?
McKittrick
Yeah.
Hotel, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
after the show, Alan was like, "Hey man, like you fucking like you know those guys, right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, kind of, like I guess. Like let me put him in touch." And he gets in touch with you. You guys become his fucking background singers for a whole fucking like round of tours and shows and
Yeah.
all sorts of things. It's a testament to like your ability, your like, because like what's insane is that you still have it. You still have it very much. Still have like that same talent, that
Yeah.
same charisma, that same
Yeah.
like ability to do it, which probably makes it 100 times harder because you're like, motherfuckers, like,
Yeah.
like
I mean,
fucking just
the
give me a
toughest thing
chance.
is like anytime I do perform and anytime people hear me sing, especially, like all I get is, "Oh my god, like you're so good. I love your voice."
Yeah,
It's just like, God, like I just love it. I love it. And I'm
yeah,
like, like, thank you so much. Of course,
yeah.
that never like gets tiresome to
Of
hear,
course.
but it's like in the back of my head, I'm like, great, give me a job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know,
totally, for sure,
like,
for sure. And then every
it's so
next
hard
thing that
not to
comes too,
think
because
that.
you're like, cool, now we're like on tour. I spent like a whole like six
Yeah.
weeks on the road with you, and like, getting to know you and becoming like really close with you, and sipping some daddy bunk juice with good old Stevie Baby Libby,
Yeah,
and
boots.
we're just like having a blast and enjoying ourselves. But like, you're getting that praise after every single night, and you're kind of like reinvigorated by like, you're right, I'm back, here I
Totally.
am,
And
here
then
I
that
am.
was
You
like
come
one of the
back,
greatest times of my life,
dude.
man,
it
was
was
being
the
on
it was the
tour.
best, and you were always like, it was always well received. Alan would give you a solo, you would fucking
Yeah.
crank it out of the house. People would be fucking jacked about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you leave that tour, you go off that tour, then you go and you sing on the Tonys, and you're like, okay, cool,
Right.
like things are kind of moving in the direction again. Like, cool, I'm going
Yeah.
to leverage this opportunity and that opportunity with Alan to kind of like, you know get the
Yep.
next thing. And what happens? Jack shit. And so it's just
Yeah.
like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Like, what do
Yeah.
you mean? What do you
Yeah.
mean? And you just
Yeah,
want
I
to like
really thought
strangle somebody.
that Tony's performance, I like
You
my
crushed.
my my mindset was like, I'm here, theater. Like I'm still here. That's kind of
Well,
was my
you really like,
mentality with
you really
how I went.
illuminated your, like, you were like,
Yeah,
you shined in that
yeah.
performance.
And I had a lot of people come up to me and tell me that like that was their favorite part of the Tony performance,
Yeah.
like or the Tonys in general that year, like
Yeah.
which was amazing. And I'm like, oh my god, yes. So like every theater eye is on this.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna get a call, or I'm gonna get called in, or I'm gonna get something, and
Mm-hmm.
then no, it just didn't really amount to that. Which is, it's like the highs are so great when I have them, and then the lows are just lower like every
Mm.
time,
Yeah.
because it's like you truly don't know unless there's something absolutely lined up in the future. Like I truly don't know if I'm ever gonna do it again, even though like that's
Mm-hmm.
such a extreme way to take it. It's kind of true. Like
Yeah.
I the way everything has been going for years, it's just like, I know something's waiting out there. I know something's coming, but like getting to these points, the in between stuff is like so hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard. So, I mean, what I've been doing recently, as you know, and you've helped me with a couple of videos, like I've been doing my these like like funny, silly music videos
Hmm.
that I'm calling like my self karaoke,
Yeah. Self-care Ioki.
self care eoki.
Yeah, I love that.
And those have been a lot of fun to do, and they're very much in my control.
Yeah.
And I've been working on my own music and trying to learn guitar, and I've
Yeah.
been like doing things that I put off for a while because of one reason or another, whether I didn't think I knew how to do it the best, so I'm not going to do it. Like
Hmm.
if I'm not a master at this, then I'm not going to do it, or I'll never become one.
Right.
But obviously I've learned like you have to put work in and practice and do these things more and more to become that level,
Totally.
one day. And so I am like, I'm making strides. I'm not like there
Yeah.
100%
You are,
yet,
dude.
but like it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
And I'm here. I am, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like get stuff out there that makes me happy and makes other people happy, because that's truly when I am the happiest. Is
Yeah.
that's why I'm a performer. Like I mean, I from as early as I can remember, I have loved people's laughter,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Same, man.
people's smiles, and being the person that can conjure that out of a crowd or out of one person, let
Yeah.
alone a crowd. But
Yeah,
that
man.
has always been my driving force and my love for this. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and now I gotta remind myself to smile and laugh
Yeah.
and
Totally,
give
man.
myself
You got to give yourself
those moments too.
a little taste of your own medicine every once in a while,
Right.
And
Right.
I do think, that in what you were speaking of, where like your highs are so high, but your lows sometimes are even lower.
Yeah.
I think, and whatever, man, like I'm no psychologist or anything, but I feel
Not with
like,
that attitude.
come
No.
on, man.
Come on now. Just
I might go back to school and start learning, honestly, because I'm fucking, this
yeah.
career is fucking really starting to piss me off, dude.
I got. I'll tell you what.
um, no, but in all honesty, I feel like, um, because that's what the show is, man. Like navigating like the in betweens of like the high highs and the low lows. Um, it really does feel like it is subjective to whoever you are, and like how you are like receiving the low, because like ultimately the lows are just not doing the high. So like if
Right.
you didn't have the high, the low would just be like you're just having lunch with a friend, like
Yeah.
you're just chilling. Like you're fine. Your
Yeah.
life is fine. You're good. You're just not this high. So like it's almost like the highs fuck you up even more than the lows do.
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean, for
like
sure.
be grateful because those happen, and those are like very unique experiences that not everybody gets to have. And I think for me as well, again, like speaking to myself in all of this, is that like when you kind of fall back down into like whatever those valleys are, don't regard it as like this is terrible, because it's just life. Like if we can learn to appreciate where we're at when we're there, then like the stuff that happens that gives us those high highs will just be like an added bonus to an already really wonderful life that we are kind of like creating for ourselves. But if we wrap up too much of our self-worth inside all of like the bookings and the status of our creative pursuits, we're destined for fucking failure, man. And we're destined to be really sad, because that's
Right.
just the reality, man. And you see too many fucking people like hit the fucking mountaintop and then just crash and burn. And I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to anybody that I'm close with, you know?
Yeah,
You
for sure.
are still just as talented as you always have been. The cachet that you have may have changed because you're not like in the show right now, but like that doesn't mean that those shows won't like present themselves to you again in the
Mhm.
future. um, I know for a fact that like as I start edging into producing, filmmaking, you know, trying to like create more stuff on from my own place, you're one of my fucking closest homies, man, and like I'm gonna bring you in to the fold, and you're gonna be a part of my world. You're a part of like you're one of the first people on this podcast because you're like you have a really interesting and incredible unique story, and I think like your story actually will help inspire other people to recognize that like, oh yeah, fuck man, like I'm not alone, like geez.
Yeah.
And like that's it, that's what this is, man. Like you're trying to make people smile, you're trying to make people feel like they're a part of a community, like they're not alone, and but you also need to realize that you're not either. And
Right.
I
Yeah, and
think
that's been a battle for
yeah,
me. I mean, just like it's not that I don't love myself, you know? It's
yeah,
just for whatever reason over the years it has gotten harder to like give myself that grace. And so like I I do rely a lot on my friends and my family.
yeah, well,
As I don't think is a terrible thing. Like I know a lot of people don't have that and they have their own inner self. You know, I need a better balance of the two,
yeah,
which I'm working on. But like I very much thrive with others.
yeah,
And I have trouble alone. Either like even it's been such a journey for me to create my own stuff. Not that I never did in the past or anything, but to this capacity that I'm doing it, it's been a lot of fun. But I prefer to be collaborative,
yeah,
because for me, I'd rather have at least two points of view how to approach a project or how to approach a problem or something than my own alone, because then I can gauge whether this is good or whether like it's so much harder to gauge whether something is worthy or is worth putting out or at a level where it's finished or whatever, because of my own personal bias. You know,
yeah,
it's like it's just so I don't know about you, but it's like I don't mind watching myself on like on a TV show or something, but it is really weird. Like there's absolutely no way that you can perceive the scene that you're in the same way that someone who is not you watching the same scene is going to perceive it, you
right,
know, because you were there, you're not that character, and even though they know you're not, like they can buy into it. I think at least for me personally, it's like,
right,
oh, there I am in the middle of, like
yeah,
it's me. It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
but
I'm sure you're going to see a lot more of yourself, man, on screen and hopefully even in the theater and
your mouth to God's ears. Let's go.
on stage, all over the place, man. Because not only do you deserve it, but you're also like you're needed in that space, man. Your talents are unique to you, and you're like an exceptionally gifted human being, man. And I'm like privileged to know you, privileged to have gotten to know you over the years, man. It's been such a thrill. We've had some
And I you, my friend, I you.
some ridiculously fucking idiotic times with each other, and some incredibly like profound
Yeah,
moments with each other as well, and everything in between that. And
for sure.
it's a total pleasure for me, man, to just like be one of your homies. And I just want you to know that I'm
Same.
always on the opposite end of a phone call if you're ever feeling some kind of way, because you can probably
And
assume
you
that
have been.
yeah, yeah, and I will continue to be,
I
man. I want to be
appreciate
that. I
that,
want to be
buddy.
that for as many people as I can, because
Yeah, me too.
I think a lot of times like I actually like need to be having the conversation myself, in
Right,
a lot of ways. And so
right.
um, I I admire you, man. I respect you. I think you're a fucking talent to be seen and heard, and you will, and you have, and people want more from you, man. And I'm excited for the world to get to experience more of you in the future.
Thanks, brother.
So
More of us.
yeah, man, you feeling nice, man. You want to share anything else? You want to fucking fart in the mic or fucking tell a joke or something? What's up?
Yeah, I mean, probably more the latter than the former. Yeah, I think. Nah, I mean, it's just this is
You
always
feel
fun. I mean,
good?
this is like the fact that we're doing a podcast. I like forgot we're just
Yeah,
chatting
it's
now.
awesome, man. I
Like
know.
it's
Sometimes I feel I've felt a little bit more manufactured in some of my other conversations than I have on this one.
yeah, sure.
It's very easy to chat with you.
Yeah, same. Always has
Um,
been.
well, I love you, man.
Love you too,
Thanks for
brother.
coming on the pod, and
Yeah, of course.
you want to hang out sometime soon?
I sure would. You know it. You
Fuck
know
yeah,
that's
dude.
right.
Hell yeah.
I
Come
know
over for a
that's right.
sleepover, dude.
Yeah, sing along, little doggies.
Sing along, little doggies. You want to end it with a little "Hey, dude"? How about this?
Yeah.
Boom, ba doom,
Boom,
doom,
boom,
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 ba doom,
boom,
doom,
boom,
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 ba doom,
boom,
doom,
boom,
doom,
boom,
ba doom.
boom,
With a
boom,
little ride and a little change. Boom, ba
boom,
doom, doom,
boom,
doom,
boom,
doom.
boom,
You can make your home out on the range. Boom, ba doom, boom, boom, ba doom. Grab your horse and come along. Boom, ba doom, boom, boom, ba doom. You can't get a ride if you can't hold on. Boom, ba doom, boom, boom. We're singing, yeah, yippee ki yay, yeah, yippee ki yay. Like the cowboys sing,
like
singing the
the
groove now,
cowboy
yeah,
say.
yippee ki yay.
Yeah.
Sing along, little doggy, doom, till the
Woo!
break of day, doom, 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 ba doom, 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 ba doom, 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 doom. Hey,
Hey,
dude.
dude.
Watch out for those killer cacti, and
I
man, you
nailed
can
that end part.
jackrabbit.
You obviously knew the lyrics more to
I
that one
know.
than I always followed with the bumpa doo doos. Yeah,
When
yeah.
you go back and listen, I probably know about 15% of the lyrics. I'm just making shit up. It's great,
Oh
man.
yeah. I bought it. Yeah.
Love you, dude. You're the best.
Bought it
Thanks for
too,
being
brother.
here.
Thanks, man.
All right, bro. So hot, am I right? So hot. Yeah, Brian. What an episode. Really love the transparency of my friend Brian. That must be a really crazy thing to try and navigate. I feel for him, and I know that he has a really bright future ahead of him. It's crazy, you just got to keep pushing the rock up the hill. When you think it's all working out, it can always fall out from under you. And I keep kind of going back to that whole "this too shall pass" comment. When it's not going so well, this too shall pass. When it's going well, this too shall pass. I think that's really important to keep in mind at every space that you're at. Anyways, love you guys. Thank you for being here. If you haven't checked out the Patreon page, make sure you go check it out. It's at patreon.com/the precipice of delusion. Um, I got exclusive content up there. I'm thinking about starting to make some merch, maybe some t-shirts and some hats with some logos on them. Would you like that? Would you check it out? Would you get one? Would you sport it down the street? Tell everybody about it? I don't know. I need to get some more patrons first. So check it out. It's $5 a month, pretty cheap, uh, reasonable. I'm putting a lot of effort into it, so I'm trying to make it worth your while. Yeah, make sure you share, like, laugh, love, give, peace, hard, felt, words, kind, that, this, where, why. um, yeah, talk about this pod. Write a review if you can. Go follow it on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get that stuff. Subscribe on YouTube. Be my friend. Send me a message. Go on Patreon. Check it out. $5 a month. Come on, come on, come on. All right, guys. Love you. Till next week. Peace. Now that's what I'm talking about.